Oh my God, was that an awesome finale? So, this is my Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 8 review. It's called The Return. And at first I didn't understand why it was called that, but I think I figured it out. Anyway, so we start off where we left off last episode, where Bo-Katan is leading the other Mandalorians out of harm's way. And she contacts Axe, who is still trying to get to the ship. And all I want to know is, how high up does he have to go? So he's still going. And she tells him what's going on. And honestly, I thought he was already past the point where they can communicate, but they lost contact at some point. But at least Bo-Katan could get out what she needed to. So, so Axe comes, so she's trying to fight, and this whole episode was just the fight, and it was so awesome. So, I guess they're dark troopers. They look like souped up stormtroopers. They attack Bo-Katan. Axe gets to the ship and tells them what Bo-Katan wants. and tells them what Bo-Katan wants and sends everybody away and says he'll pilot the ship. And I thought, oh God, are they going to kill off Axe? And so there's fighting down below. There's fighting above. And Din is being dragged by said souped up stormtroopers. And at some point he gets his strength back and starts beating the crap out of them. And only to be quickly overrun. And then suddenly you hear, no, it's Grogu. And he helps Din. He helps Daddy, which I thought he would. This wasn't the way I thought he was going to help Din, but this is, but he did help. And so Din tells him, okay, we have to find Moff Gideon and end this once and for all. But it's going to be dangerous, and I need you to be brave. And so Grogu, instead of doing the comical pressing a button so his mecha suit would say yes or no, he nods. So they go off to find Moff Gideon. And while they're doing that, Din contacts R5. And I was so proud of R5 because he was so scared in the beginning, and he was a rock star in this. So he asked R5 to get to Moff Gideon's headquarters and give them the schematics so they can get to where Moff Gideon would be. So, and of course Moff Gideon is currently looking for Mando. He's looking for the Mandalorian, which is still odd that they refer to him as the Mandalorian, considering there are a whole bunch of Mandalorians. But so he is searching, and he needs the schematics of where where Moff Gideon is hiding. So R5 flies in and gets him the schematics, and then he asks him to raise the shields in the order he tells him so he can, kick ass. And this is where I love Din Djarin the best. So he's doing that, and while R5 is helping him out, he gets found out by a droid, and so he just basically tases him and scares him off. But it took him a second, so he wasn't able to get the last shield up. And Din is starting to get a little annoyed. It's not like, what's wrong? Why aren't you responding? Are you still there? It's just annoyance that somehow R5 isn't listening to him or something. So he finally gets the last shield up, and Din goes running in. And then once the coast is clear, baby Grogu comes after him, and he's just flying in that mecha suit. He's doing a great job piloting it. And he comes face to face with Moff Gideon. First, he finds the control room, and the Grogu is noticing that there's what looks like Moff Gideon in a tube, and Din's like, that's not him, that's a clone. So he destroys the clones, and of course Moff Gideon isn't thrilled that his clones were destroyed. Now, we never did find out why, of all people, he captured Din. Does he have a death wish and wants to really anger the baby? Because we've seen what angry baby can do. And getting baby angry is a really, really bad idea if you want to live a long life. That's just the way it is. And everybody who around Grogu should know that. And so let's just kidnap his daddy? Yeah, that's going to end well for you. But we never did find out why he took him. So, because he was already working on his clone, so it was obvious he didn't need Din Djarin's blood. So we don't know why he was kidnapped. What is his obsession with Din Djarin? Unless there was a bit of dialogue I missed, but we never did find out. So Moff Gideon is, of course, pissed that his clones were destroyed because he wanted to make Force-sensitive clones, which I think everybody knew that was the end goal. And just maybe not the fact that they're all going to be clones of him. But considering his smug ass, yeah, that checks out. He is narcissistic enough to want clones of himself. So, they start fighting. So, Moff Gideon and Din Djarin are fighting. Bo-Katan and her and the other Mandalorians find a rest spot, and it's all nice and green, and you wonder how the hell greenery can grow in the caves like that, because you kind of need sun and water, things that don't necessarily get into caves, but okay. And so I was wrong about the 3 newcomers. They were not bad guys. And while this is happening, the armorer contacts Bo and said that your cavalry is here. Your backup is here. And so they go out to join the fight. So, and like I said, I thought Axel was gonna go kamikaze. And Axe. What is wrong with me and his name? So I thought Axe was going to go kamikaze. He didn't. Thankfully, he didn't. At the last minute, he breaks the window and jumps out because yay jetpacks. And so there's a fight in the air, which was so much fun to watch. This whole episode, the fight scenes were awesome. So as they're fighting, Din is trying to fight Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon, being the guy who, never heard of a fair fight, called in Praetorian guards. And it looks like they're going to do to Din what they did to Paz Vizsla. And I was like, no, they're not going to kill Din. They didn't. Because Baby comes to the rescue. He's still in his mech suit. And he just decides, you are not hurting my daddy. And so of course he gets he basically just gets the Praetorian guards to lose focus. Not focus on Din, go after the baby. Which, again, do you not know what happens when you piss off this baby? You do not want to piss off this baby. He is the last being alive you would want to piss off. And people knew that before when he wasn't as strong. But he's a lot stronger now. So he leads them away. And of course, Din, being a good dad, he wants to protect Grogu. And I'm just like, it's okay. Do you not remember what pissed off Grogu can do? He'll be fine. Worry about your own ass, which Moff Gideon is making short work of right now. So, Din is fighting Moff Gideon, and then Bo-Katan comes to relieve him and goes, go help your kid. And so then we get this beautiful tag team. Because first, you see Grogu, he quickly leaves his mech suit because, he doesn't want to die. And he starts just force jumping everywhere so the Praetorian guards cannot get him. And he's giggling and he's having so much fun. It was so cute. And I looked at that and I said, I guess this is their way of saying, yeah, the mech suit was only for a couple of episodes. It's just a gag. The mech suit is done. So he's just bouncing around and it looks like he's about to get hit with some debris. But of course he uses the Force to protect himself. And he was using the Force against the Praetorian guards and using the Force push, and he was having fun. And then Din came to help him. He's fighting the Praetorian guards, and occasionally from an assist from Grogu, when it would look like the third Praetorian guard was going to take him unawares, Grogu just took care of him with the Force. So that tag teaming was so much fun. I was just squeeing. It was so much fun. I was enjoying it so much. And so while that's going on, Bo-Katan and Moff Gideon are fighting. And of course, Moff Gideon is mocking her. And it seems like he destroyed the Darksaber. Did I get that right? Why? What was the purpose of that? Just to show what a badass he is? What was the point of destroying the Darksaber? I thought he wanted the Darksaber. So unless they're playing fast and loose and he did some sort of switcheroo, or she did a switcheroo, the Darksaber is gone. Which is fine because we have the Mythosaur. So, they're fighting, and Axe tells Casca and Bo that if anybody's listening, he's ramming the ship into the base. And like I said, he was smart enough to jump out at the last minute so he wouldn't kill himself. And the fire engulfs everybody. At this point, Din and Grogu have joined to watch this fight between Moff Gideon and Bo-Katan. And so then there was a huge fireball which seemed to engulf Moff Gideon. Now, we didn't see a dead body, so I'm not sure he's dead. It's entirely possible he is, but I wouldn't put it past them that he isn't, that he's somehow got away. So Din is bracing himself to get encompassed by the fire, and so is Bo with her little force shield and her little electric shield. And of course, Baby Grogu does what Baby does best and keeps the fire at bay. And they're just looking at him like, dude, come on, Din, you've seen him do this before. I mean, Din has seen Grogu specifically keep fire at bay, and he wasn't nearly as strong as he is now. Bo, though she hadn't seen him use the Force in this way, knows what Force users can do. I do not understand why this is surprising to them. So, Grogu saved Dad's life twice this episode, which, yay! I was so happy about. And, so in the aftermath, they all converge on, the waters. In the Mines of Mandalore, the waters. And the armor is going around and baptizing everybody. So we see her rebaptizing, I assume it's Ragnar. And I'm kind of bummed that they didn't address any, emotional scars that Ragnar has over the fact that the Praetorian guards murdered his father. I mean, granted, yes, he died swinging. He took down a lot of troopers, but really, this was his kid, and no mention from anybody, including the kid, about his father being killed. Anyway, so, everybody's observing this, but this time when the armor said the creed, she said nothing about keeping the helmet on. So I guess she's accepting that to follow the creed doesn't mean you have to keep your helmet on. It just means that you should follow the Mandalorian way in every other aspect. So she's grown as a person. And a lot of people thought she was the spy because of the horns on her helmet that resemble Darth Maul. And that she's a Mandalorian. Now, that could be that at one point she was, and she re-entered the fold. or they're playing the long game and there's still something off with the armor. But I saw nothing in this episode to make me doubt her. So Din picks up the baby. Well, he already was holding the baby. And he said that, Grogu is no longer a foundling. He's an apprentice. I want him to take the creed. And she's like, he can't speak. And I'm like, yeah, Din. That was what you said in the beginning of the season. He's a baby. He can't speak the creed. And he said, well, what if his parents gave him permission to take the creed? Oh, you could do that, but his parents are probably dead. And poor Grogu, he was so upset. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, this is the second time you are not paying any attention to this kid. First, when she's hammering, he's having serious PTSD and she's completely oblivious. And now she's oblivious to the fact that maybe not flippantly telling a baby that his parents are probably dead, his birth parents. Maybe not. You know he's an emotional baby. And let's face it, he's been through a lot. I mean, Order 66, that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody, especially a baby. So, I seriously wanted to bitch slap the armor. So, he said, well, I'll just adopt the baby. I'll adopt Grogu, and then I'll give permission. And the armor's like, cool, you're his dad now. And the look on Grogu's face, his eyes got really wide. He was so happy. He was so happy that he officially has a daddy now. And so she said something about how just like you and Grogu have to leave Mandalore. And I guess this is just the show's way of saying that they're returning back to like season 1 where it's basically him and Grogu having adventures, as opposed to it being this huge plot. But anyway, so Grogu looks into the water, and I guess he senses the mythosaur, and the mythosaur wakes up. And I really, really thought that he was going to tame the mythosaur, and that the mythosaur was going to come to him. And, so the Mandalorians could have a collective freak out at this baby that's taming creatures left and right. But no, that was just a brief tease. A tease that eventually he's going to tame the mythosaur and he's going to ride the mythosaur. Because people are saying how, Bo-Katan is the new Mandalore. Din Djarin is the new Mandalore. Grogu is going to be the new Mandalore. It's just that, well, he's a baby now, so God knows when he's going to become Mandalore, but... So, they fly off, and as they're flying off, Bo-Katan lights the forge. The armor gives her the torch to light the forge, and Axe, starts the chants for Mandalore, and everybody in unison repeats after him. And so we see then that Din, now Grogu is forever going to be called Din Grogu. So I guess that Din is just some sort of prefix for the clan, and that Djarin is the only part of his name. Because what? So is that the same for... I know it's not the same for Bo-Katan, because her sister from the Rebels series has a completely different name. So I don't know how this works. But anyway, maybe it just works for foundlings. So they fly off, and I thought they were going to go straight to Navarro, but no. They didn't go straight to Navarro. He went to where Carson Teva and the rest of the New Republic squadron hangs out when they're not patrolling the Outer Rim. And he comes in, and they're happy to see him, and they offer him a drink, and he's like, nope, you're on business. Grogu, on the other hand, used the Force to get up onto the bar and start munching on what looked like bar peanuts. So, because, as always, Grogu's always hungry. And, so Grogu notices the head of an IG unit, and he gets sad. And Din tells him, no, that's not him. And so he's explained to Carson Teva that, it reminds him of a friend. And he offers his services as an independent contractor to the New Republic. And he is really full of himself in this scene. Carson Teva's like, well, the New Republic would never go for that. And he's like, well, that's why you're not going to tell him. And I'd have to think about it. He goes, no, you don't. You've already thought about it. It's like, wow, what an ego you have. And so it's implied that that's what's going to happen. So then he goes to Navarro, and he takes Greef Karga up on that plot of land outside the city where he and Grogu could live. So suddenly we see IG-11 walk in. And he said, I'm IG-11. I am the new sheriff of Navarro. And everybody's like, what? So, because that was Din Djarin's price for taking on a job that he forced upon Carson Teva. And so he fixed the IG unit. And because, let's face it, that's the best way to find a new memory circuit is with another IG unit. And so now we have a new sheriff. A lot of people were speculating that Cobb Vanth was going to be the new sheriff. Simply because, well, the money's good. He might want to. No, he loves Freetown way too much to ever leave. So I didn't think that was going to happen, and it didn't. I was kind of bummed that we didn't see Boba Fett because, he's a Mandalorian. We didn't see Sabine Wren. There was nothing connecting any upcoming projects or previous projects, which, that was a bit of a bummer. There was no post-credit scene, so I thought that they were going to introduce Thrawn in the post-credit scene. No post-credit scene. So that was a bit of a bummer, but all in all, this episode was so good. So amazing. And it ended in such a way that if they didn't get renewed, which Jon Favreau has stated at the beginning of the season that they already have the scripts for season 4. So I assume that means that they've been renewed, but maybe it just hasn't been official, or anyway. So, but if this were was the end of The Mandalorian. This is a great way to wrap everything up. And, you know, obviously we want more, but this is a good way to end it, if nothing else. So it ends with Din Djarin sitting outside and Grogu levitating a frog. What is it with him and frogs? Now, I can understand it if he's trying to eat it, but it didn't look like he was trying to even do that. He was just levitating the frog. But, yeah, I hope that it gets renewed, truly gets renewed, and we get to see Grogu taming the mythosaur. That would be awesome. Now, before I watched this episode, I was on, I get this comic book resource newsletter. I do not know why. I do not know how I got on this mailing list, but this is one of the few mailing lists that come out of the blue that I'm okay with. And they showed screenshots, and they showed like the armor holding the Darksaber. So I thought that, oh, she was a spy and she somehow took the Darksaber from Bo-Katan and probably gives it to Moff Gideon. But nope, nothing like that. So, because I heard that the body double of Din Djarin, Pedro Pascal's body double, says how this episode is going to be heartbreaking. Well, I guess if you're a fan of Moff Gideon not becoming Moff S'mores, I guess then it would be heartbreaking, but there was nothing in this episode that was heartbreaking. Or maybe this last episode and this episode was supposed to be one long episode. So if that's the case, then the heartbreaker is the fact that Paz Vizsla was killed. Let's see if there's anything else about this episode I wanted to touch on. There really isn't anything because, like I said, this was a nice wrap. So even if it wasn't going to continue, it's a good ending point. So there really isn't anything to speculate about. I'd still like to know what happened with Dr. Pershing. We still know nothing about him. If he was killed, what else? It's possible that Elia killed him, so the rest of those people in Amnesty House will start to hate the New Republic. But we know nothing. Nobody's mentioned Dr. Pershing except for that one member of the Shadow Council. And, that was just in passing because of his cloning research, not because they actually care about him. So, I think that's all I have for this episode. So with that, I will see you next time.